But, Rob, the other news is that Quinn Snyder, the eighth-year head coach with the Utah Jazz, stepped down as head coach. Had spent 8 seasons, as I said, with the team. The last 6, they made the playoffs. He turned them into one of the best regular season teams in the Western Conference and in the entire NBA, but they kept falling short in the playoffs and could never get over the hump and reach the NBA Finals. Last 2 years, they actually went out in the first round, or this past year, I should say, they went out in the first round. 2 of the last 3 years, 3 of the last 4 years, they've been out in the first round. And the other 3 years, they made it to the second round. But he resigned, Rob. Danny Ainge said, who, runs the Jazz, he said that they desperately wanted to keep Quinn Snyder. But you're not buying it.
Chris, I think that's phony, poppycock, boulder dash, whatever you want to say. There's no way Quinn Snyder quit. Danny Ainge knew he wants to bring in his own guy. I don't know why they play this game. Quit for what reason? What did he win? What did he do that he could say, I want to quit? And where's he going? I mean, I'm not saying
he's going to be wanted.
Okay, but I'm saying he quit. I know it's just nicer to say that you resigned rather than having it on your record that they fired you or whatever, or when people step down. I want to be with my family. I want to do family time and all that. And then they get a job 3 weeks later. Like, what happened to the family? It's just a way of covering it up and making people feel good about a situation. I don't believe for 1 second that he resigned. I don't.
I think you're totally wrong. First of all, the Jazz is an organization that's about stability. Jerry Sloan was there, 22 years?
And it got him nothing.
He resigned. Jerry Sloan resigned. He wasn't fired. He didn't win a championship. I know got him to the finals, obviously, a few years. But the Jazz, they were a good team. And I'm going to say this. Obviously, they want to win a championship. But they've never, ever won a championship. And they've been a great franchise. They want to win it, but they're not going to win it. If they don't win it, as long as their team is good, is relevant, and they've got hope. Like when they start the season, the fans are thinking, hey, this is our year. We got a chance. That's enough in Utah. It's Utah. And so I definitely, look, he had 2 years left on his deal. They were discussing an extension with him. And so I definitely think he said that. He's regarded, whether you believe it, whether not just you, but whether a person thinks he's a good coach or not, he is generally regarded as one of the best coaches in the NBA. So he's going to be able to get a job, whenever he wants to get back in. So I totally believe it. Rob, I was covering the Knicks when Jeff Van Gundy stepped down. Jeff certainly hadn't won anything. I mean, he got him to the finals, but so it happens sometimes.
I don't believe it happens most of the time. I really believe I believe that it's just people wanting to save face. That's all. It just sounds better.
Who's saving face with this?
Quinn Snyder, to say that he wasn't fired, and it makes people feel better about the organization and about him. He wasn't fired. He just wanted to step down. He didn't want to do it anymore, and then he's going to go get another job.
Why was he fired?
Why? I don't know.
They fired?
Maybe because they haven't gone anywhere. Maybe ultimately 8 years is a long time. And Jerry Sloan was a different era, and guys stayed around, and they got to the finals, and they did some stuff 24 years. But after a while, I just don't believe. This is just me. I don't have any evidence. I'm just saying, Chris, my gut is that normally they go in and have a conversation with people and say, hey, you know what? Well, what are you thinking? We're thinking that maybe this might be a time that we might make a change, but we want you to be on board with this. How do you want this to look? You know what I mean? Well,
it makes the franchise look bad.
Oh, that he resigned?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
They got 2 All-Stars. They got the All-Star game in Utah next year. Now there's talk that the best player wants to leave because, at least in part, he wanted to leave before Snyder resigned. But now he's upset because the coach is gone. This doesn't help the franchise at all. This makes them look silly.
I don't think a coach leaving makes people.
We see coaches fired all the time.
Yes, but Chris, they've also
and admitted it's admitted that they were fired. It's not like
Rob G.
half the time they make it soften it.
Rob G. How many times did we hear
Frank Vogel? Did he walk away or was he fired?
How many times did we hear coaches where they say they parted ways? They use that term. That's the new term, that they parted ways.
New term.
That is, Rob G. Am I wrong on how the stories are spun now?
Ask Rob G. what he thinks.
Yes,
You think Quinn Snyder stepped down? You think he was fired or he resigned?
I think that he is setting himself up to be the next coach of the Spurs.
Do you think he was fired or that he resigned?
I don't understand.
I'm shocked
I don't know.
You even think it's a question.
Like, based on the way
his reputation.
No, but based on the way the statements came out, it was like we wanted him to be here. He still wanted to be here, but he had to go. And
Right.
It's like, well, it can't be both. You can't be that everybody wanted everyone to stay together, but it didn't work out. Like there's definitely more going on.
If they both wanted to be there, why don't you have a deal?
Yeah.
It doesn't even make sense.
Maybe they wouldn't pay him what he wanted.
And this is the other thing. But Rob G, just from
because they were talking about an extension.
Right.
I'm not asking you for your opinion on this.
Thanks, Rob.
No. I mean it. I mean it from this standpoint.
Okay, go ahead.
The new terminology is that they parted ways. Don't you see that more often?
And it's because
that's all I'm saying is they don't say that they're fired. They parted ways.
No, I'm not doubting that. That does happen. I just don't think it happened in this case. That's all I'm saying.
Well, Chris, and we've talked about this on the air and off the air. The lines with media nowadays are so blurred where it's not even these guys are reporting anything. It's they're being told what they're allowed to say by whoever the source is.
There's no doubt about that. So, all right, but here's the thing, Ross. So I threw this out. The report is that Donovan Mitchell's bothered, unsettled is one of the terms that was used, that Snyder's gone. Look, it seemed pretty clear that Donovan Mitchell wanted out of there anyway, right? Before Snyder was gone. Now, he's got 3 years left on his contract where he's locked in, Rob. Then a fourth year where he's got a player option. So if you're the Jazz, now the Jazz have told teams that they're not trading Mitchell. Would you, if he wants out, say he won't demand a trade, but he's like, look, I wouldn't mind leaving. I'm not happy. I'd rather move on. Would you move him or would you keep him and build around him?
Anybody who doesn't want to be somewhere, I will move them because you're never going to play as good if you're not happy in a place. I want somebody who wants to be there. Either you're in or you're out.
Aaron Rodgers played great in Green Bay.
But I don't think he ever wanted out, and I said that. I told you from Jump Street I never believed he was going anywhere. I never believed it at all.
No, you said you never believed he was retiring.
No, I said he wasn't going. I said he was either going to retire or stay in Green Bay, but I didn't see him wearing any other uniform. And my point is, if somebody's got to want to be there, that's all. If a guy doesn't really want to be there, I don't really want you. That's all I'm saying.
Well, if they get to a point now, the All-Star game, as I said, is there in Salt Lake City. There's some thinking that they're going to at least keep him through the All-Star game because Salt Lake City, he's their big star, and they're going to want him to be the showcase of, them having the game there. But, Rob, a lot of talk. His former agent is Leon Rose, who now runs the Knicks. And there's the Knicks fans, of course, right, are hopeful that they could somehow get Donovan Mitchell. He's from upstate New York. His dad works for the Mets.
I saw him at a Mets game, Chris, last summer. He was in a suite, and they had him on the Diamond Vision and everything in a Mets jersey.
There have been photos of him at games this year.
Yeah, I didn't know his dad. What does his dad do for the Mets? I didn't know he worked.
I don't know exactly. You know, Rob G?
He works. So his dad works for the Mets.
He's something with the Mets. Look it up. But he's something, or he either is or used to be with the Mets. But here's my thing, Rob. If they get to a point where they will trade him, the Knicks' problem is to me, there are a number of teams that could offer them much more than the Knicks can. I'll start with Philadelphia. If I'm Philadelphia, I'd offer them Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey. I mean, you didn't get excited about Harris, but Maxey, and Harris is a good player. And then you're throwing Maxey, who's a budding star. That's better than anything the Knicks can offer. And I think there's a number of teams that Cleveland's got more. Miami's got more. If New Orleans wants to do something, they got more. That's the problem the Knicks have, Rob, is, to me, they don't have enough. And I don't think you'll say New York or bust, because most players give a list, Rob. Even if they've got one place they're focused on, they still give a list, right? Harden said Philadelphia and Brooklyn. Melo, when he went to New York, said New York or the Nets in New Jersey at that time. Anthony Davis had Boston on his list along with the Lakers. Ben Simmons had, the Brooklyn wasn't the only place he'd go. He'd go anywhere, he said. So I just think that the Knicks, Rob, for all those Knicks fans, look, anything's possible, but I wouldn't get my hopes up too high.
No, I mean, it's not a layup, but they've, because of the drought in New York and all that, and they think everybody wants to be there, and it's just not the case. I mean, as great as that place is, and I love the Garden, the ownership and the way the franchise has been run has been terrible. It just has. And so I'm not totally surprised.
And then a lot of players don't want to deal with the scrutiny, too.
Yeah, that's another part. And you could go to some other place and be where two reporters show up every night, and no one's going to write a bad column about you.
So. Right.